Hello and welcome back to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have the capacity to tune in and look up anything USMNT after what we just seen. So right now we have our reaction. Thank you so much for everyone that joined our stream. But we're going to give our analysis on what happened. It's all the product of this genius right here. And it's the players that let him down as well, let everyone down. But he's a lot at fault for this one. Braden, straight to the point. We're going to skip the first half, second half, straight to the point. Initial thoughts, immediate thoughts after a loss like that. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, we'll get more into the tactical analysis of the game in just a bit. But the first thing I have to say, it's just a complete embarrassment. Whether you want to blame Greg, whether you want to blame the players, I think there's a lot of blame to go around after that horrific display. 5-1 to Colombia. I don't think anyone expected that to happen. I think there was a lot of people saying we'll probably lose, maybe get humbled a little bit. I don't think anyone would have predicted 5-1. And in that manner, and too, all of the goals, we'll break them down individually as well, but all of them were so avoidable. Just individual mistakes every time, lapses, a complete mess by the end of the game, and it's a complete embarrassment. If we don't see a serious response from the players against Brazil, I don't understand how we can have any belief in this team going into the Copa America. And you can argue Brazil are a better opponent than Colombia anyway, so I'm very scared for the upcoming friendly. What do you think? Initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts are if USSF has any credibility and they really have a future for this program and they want to have the ambition, they say they do have it, you have to fire the manager. You mentioned it during the stream. Ivory Coast has done it before their major tournament, their regional tournament. We've seen that with Morocco before the World Cup as well. Bad results that are embarrassing, accompanied by honestly horrifically bad, horrible performances mostly, not only the result. They do need to have a consequence. What are the consequences right here? Maybe it's just a slap around the wrist during after the game on the dressing room. But what I think, my main takeaway right here is this is a reality check for all of us, myself included. Will hold my hands up. I look like a clown for predicting us to have a tough time but draw this game, and I thought I was being unbiased. Ridiculous display. And the one thing that I want to say is we're going to get into it a little bit later, but main takeaway is the lack of depth that we have compared to what we think we have. When Pulisic comes out, McKennie, yeah, he didn't have a good game, but him, Gio Reyna comes out. Look what happens. 5-1, a complete mess, capitulation FC. It could have been more. It could have been more. Being honest, it was a complete mess. No shape, no formation, technically inept, and horrible displays from players that let us down. And most disappointingly, didn't show the passion that they needed to show. So, I mean, now we're going to break down on how we got to that 5-1. On the bright note, perhaps the best part of the game, which was the first half, which wasn't good, and that says a lot. 2-0, we looked like we were good the first 5 minutes, had a bad spell during 10 minutes. What are your takeaways on that first half, Braden?
Well, firstly, I just want to completely hold my hands up. Like you said, I apologize to any Colombian fans that are watching now and looking to bash on us at any opportunity, as you should. I don't know how I predicted a win for the U.S. That was idiotic of me. But yeah, breaking into the first half, I don't think it was the best spell. I think the best spell was the start of the second half, but we'll get into that more. We came out bright. The first 30 seconds of the game, we already got a shot. Not on goal because Balogun kind of scuffed it a little bit, but it showed the intensity and the drive, and then we just get completely deflated. John Arias, an individual mistake from Jedi, from Johnny, and it falls perfectly to Arias. Ream loses a step there, and a good finish at the near post. I'll say that as well. Matt Turner, maybe he should do a little bit better guarding his near post. We've seen it in the past, him struggle with that, but a good goal nonetheless from Arias. And then we actually do a decent job, I thought, putting numbers forward, getting into attacking situations. The final product in the final third, horrible. The crosses, we've seen this tactics time and time again. Greg loves crossing the ball, and maybe it would work if we had the right personnel. Jedi, Scally, Weah, Pulisic. The crossing is potentially one of the worst attributes of their game, especially Pulisic. We see he does so many things well, but the crosses just are not on point. And Balogun, as the striker, Pepe came on and he was bad. We'll get to that, but at least Pepe has the aerial presence that Balogun traditionally does not have. He's more of an out-and-out striker that could potentially fit the system. Sargent as well, but unfortunately he got hurt before the game. Then the bicycle kick goal. Great finish from Boré. but horrible defending. Lerma gets to the ball off the corner before Scally and Johnny, beating them both. Losing a 2-on-1 is completely embarrassing there. And I think it was the theme of the game. We were second to every ball, and it led to some of the other goals as well. And then Bode, good bicycle kick. I'll blame Turner again a little bit. I think a bicycle kick finish, very impressive, don't get me wrong, but it kind of goes under Turner's hands. And it wasn't the most power on it from close range, yes, but I think a better goalkeeper probably would have stopped that. And then again, we come out somewhat encouraging. I think immediately after the goal, there was a little bit of nervousness, shaky moments, but we grew back into the game in the second half, had some decent opportunities. Again, the end product's not there at all, but I think ultimately it would have been nice to get a goal before halftime. That would have been huge, but I think we could have left with our heads held not completely down at the end of the first half. There were some opportunities. We weren't clinical enough, but we were still somewhat in the game. What do you think about the first half?
On the first half, I will say, some people highlighted on the stream. We'll get to the second a little bit later, but this is hard to say without honestly grouping that. Johnny, good on the ball, but on that first goal, James Rodriguez has way too much space, and then gives that ball. Jedi misjudges it, didn't watch over his shoulder, lays it off really for Colombia to score their first goal. Second goal, again, 2 players on one, a finish that Matt Turner should have saved. I don't even expect Matt to save a hard shot at his near post, even though that should be the norm for a national team goalkeeper. So that first one, even though it's disappointing, I already expect it. Second one, look at the pace of that finish. As you said, impressive finish. Take nothing away from the forward, but the goalkeeper must deal with what's in front of him. And I don't think he did himself any justice. But I agree with you. We could have gone to halftime weathering the storm. It's not too bad. 2-0. 1 goal back before the 60th or 7th minute, which strangely enough we did. And you're back in the game. But that wasn't to be the story because, well, second half unfolded. And how do you see that one? Walk us through it.
So I'll start with the halftime sub. I don't know what Greg said in the team talk. Hopefully, I'm really looking forward to this behind the crest that gets released because I need to see what Greg said to the team at halftime that led to this. And I will say, actually, Haji came on for Pulisic. We slammed the sub during the stream, and I do think it shows a little bit of a lack of ambition, taking nothing away from Haji, right? But come on, Pulisic's our best player. It's a little bit of throwing the towel and waving the white flag. But Haji was lively early, and it ultimately led to our best spell in the game. So maybe give Greg a little bit of credit for the team talk, maybe the sub, and ultimately Weah with an incredible performance on that play. He starts it with a beautiful ball out of the midfield. I don't know why he was playing as a center mid, but that ball alone, he had more impact in the midfield than all of the rest of the players played there combined throughout the rest of the game. Great ball to Balogun. Balogun, very well done, holds it up, finds the run of Weah, plays a perfect through ball, and a great finish from Tim Weah as well. Overall, I mean, maybe it's a little biased. I thought that was the best well-worked goal of the entire game, including all 5 of Colombia's, because there was no individual mistake to pinpoint from the defense. It was just overall great attacking play. And then Colombia makes some subs. Richard Rios came on at halftime, but then John Duran and Carrascal come on. We bring on CCV and Tillman, and shocker, Reina comes off and the wheels fall off. We've seen it time and time again. Reem coming off was a great thing. But we'll get to the subs a little bit later. But I want to pinpoint CCV on for Reem was a horrible decision because we mentioned it in the stream. It forced Richards to go from right center back, where I thought he was the most solid player up to that point. He won every aerial duel, so consistent, no mistakes. Then he goes to left center back, and all of a sudden he looks like a completely different player. He's playing errant passes, losing the ball, losing duels. If he had stayed at right center back and we had brought on McKenzie or Miles Robinson even, both have that capability to play on the left side and allow Richards to continue to thrive on the right with Scally, who, it has to be said, I was worried about him pre-game. I'll hold my hands up again. Scally, what a performance from him, holding Luis Diaz on the left-hand side. Overall, that right-hand side of the defense was good until CCV comes in. So a horrible change. I like the fact that Tillman came on, but Reina comes off and we lose everything, all sorts of semblance in the midfield. He was even having some good defensive duties before he came off, which is uncharacteristic for him. Sinistera and Sinistera comes on. Luis Diaz and James Rodriguez come off for Colombia, and you think, okay, this is our chance. They brought off their 2 most dynamic playmakers, their best attackers. And ultimately, Musa comes on for McKennie, and it's over. Musa, what a horrible game he had. Every time it seemed he got on the ball, he lost it, made a mistake. this dribbling. He tried to take on players, lost it the majority of the time. And the third goal, you mentioned Johnny earlier. We have to blame Johnny completely for this goal. He loses the ball just due to a lack of concentration and awareness, and then gives up on the play. You, as a CDM, as a number 6, replacing Tyler Adams, who's traditionally a destroyer, does so well to win the ball back. You can't lose your man, and it's just such an easy goal for Richard Rios. Take nothing away from Colombia's attack. Again, they did what they had to do, but it's just too easy. Johnny lost his man. You can't leave a man open at the penalty spot. He's going to finish 100 times out of 100 from that situation. And then from that point, I think our players were done. 2 late goals, just putting the nail in the coffin. Individual mistakes as well. I thought both of them could have been prevented. One of them, I think it was the 5th. Yeah, the 5th one, CCV tries to play the ball into Pepe. Pepe, instead of going to the ball, hold up play like he's supposed to do. That's his style of play. He just stands there, allows, I think it was Lukumi to win the ball. Immediately, Colombia go into the break, and it's 2 passes, and they're in. Easy goal for Luis Sinisterra. The 4th one, if you want to break that one down as well, and your overall thoughts on the second half.
I'm going to skip that. Honestly, I just don't want to revisit the thoughts of that. But I will say, spot on, completely agree with you. I think that the 3rd goal is what set the wheels off, factually. Maybe it was bound to happen with the substitutions, but the lack of awareness, the urgency, and also when you're losing the ball, so slow on the ball, but also the tracking back. Johnny's just watching. Watch that 3rd goal again. Watch the 2nd goal again. You see how much Matt Turner is at fault again. I'm just thinking about these goals, revisiting them. So underwhelming. I think that Johnny didn't do any favors to be ahead of even Maloney in the pecking order. Yeah, he did well for Betis, but for national team form, national team performances is something that people pinpoint when talking about Tillman. Well, let's look at this. It's the biggest sample we have from him. So huge questions to be asked. But I'm going to skip that part because now we're going to focus. Well, it is what it is, 5-1. Your thoughts on the players. Let's not do player ratings. Let's just do the players that can leave with their heads held high or okay, and the players that need to go take a long, cold shower and cry while doing so. Who are those players for you, Braden?
So before I get into the players, I just want to say, this is why app ratings suck. I'm looking at some of the ratings from the players on FotMob, and they're all completely inaccurate. Chris Richards is at a 4.7, one of our lowest rated players. I thought he was superb, at least when he was playing right center back. I will say when he was shifted to the left, and I touched on this already, he lost, he was a completely different player. He lost his confidence, I think, playing on a different side, and that's just something he might have to get used to playing alongside CCV, but ultimately it was the wrong player to sub in. Joe Scally as well, that right-hand side of defense, did a very good job. Luis Diaz is Colombia's best player. There's no debate about that, but I think Scally did a great job keeping him quiet for the majority of the game, and ultimately it showed. No goal, no assist for Luis Diaz. Scally had some decent moments in the attack as well, provided at least an option at times going forward. We know that's not necessarily his game, but I thought he was a lot more defensively solid than than we thought he would be, and leaving no questions to be asked. He is the de facto starter now at right back with Serginho Dest out. He will be the starter for Copa America, hopefully. There's no questions about that, but there's a lot of questions about the rest of the team. I think that's really all you can say about highlights, good performances. Reina and Pulisic were okay, but ultimately they weren't at their best. A little underwhelming for their standards, which are very high. And then I'll get into the worst performers. I'll start with Matt Turner. I thought he was absolutely woeful, and it all just sums it up, really. That yellow card that he got for handling the ball outside the box, I think just sums up who he is as a goalkeeper. He's horrible. I've been saying this for so long, and maybe now people will finally start to agree with me. I would love to see Horvath start. Not that Horvath's that great of a keeper, but he's less error-prone, more consistent, and just you know what you're going to get with Horvath. And you know what you're going to get with Turner too, but it's a lot worse. Losing at the near post, his distribution was very poor, I think, throughout the game, although you could say maybe there was a lack of options. And I think that's a good transition, actually, because the midfield, who are supposed to be giving the players options, I mentioned CCV as well, and Richards struggling to play out of the back because the midfield was non-existent. Without Tyler Adams and then McKennie and Reina later on in the game, when it was Musa, Johnny, and then later De La Torre and Malik Tillman in there. I'm not going to fault Tillman as much because I thought he had a few decent moments, but Yunus Musa and Johnny were just horrible. They didn't go to the ball. They didn't provide spaces for passing lanes. And ultimately, it led to us giving the ball away a lot. And on paper, what we thought was our strongest area of the pitch might be one of the weakest, because without Adams in there, hopefully he can come back and be fully fit for Copa America, because I think it shows that we really need him in the team to be a serious side and to stop out any attacking threats, give an option, get on the ball. Johnny wasn't doing that. I thought when he was on the ball, he had a couple of good moments, but ultimately he didn't demand it enough. And then finally, I don't even know where to start. Yunus Musa, just a complete horrible game. Every time he had the ball played to him, he lost it. And sometimes he got bailed out by fouls, but he tried to dribble. We saw this at Milan. Usually he's so silky dribbling, and when he gets to the final third, he ends up losing it. This time he didn't even get to the final third. And whenever he got the ball in the midfield, lost it out, played an errant pass to nobody, or just ended up losing it due to a tackle. I thought he was horrible and didn't do himself any favors. And there was the opportunity there for him as well, because McKennie was poor. McKennie was nowhere to be seen either. He didn't provide opportunities. He didn't create anything. Musa had the chance coming in for him and maybe even moved himself down the pecking order. So a little bit of a rant there towards the end, but what do you think overall takeaways from this game?
On the players that I'll highlight, very few. I think that in terms of leaving with their heads okay, not held high, but think that they did all right. They did their duty. Gio Reyna and Pulisic, I think that it wasn't a great game from both of them, but they both did okay. At times good, at times average, but nothing bad. I don't think we can say pinpoint anything they did bad. And they weren't a part of the thrashing. Obviously they are. We lose as a team, blah, 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 but they weren't on the pitch when it happened. McKennie can say the same. So just saying that even though you're not part of what happened, I'm just going to pinpoint Gio Reyna, Pulisic, and then the real highlight, Scally and Richards, in my opinion. That's it. Richards in the first half, up until that move, which why is Greg putting your best defender trying to accommodate a player that isn't even a starting lineup? You're just testing the waters with CCV at this point. Plays at a really bad level. Sideways move to stay at Celtic again. Should be criticized like we criticized Miles, like you've said in the past. So honestly, just Scally. It's the only one that had a good performance. Weah, I can say that he can leave with his head held high as well. Bad on that goal that he tried to dribble away. But then look at Yunus Musa. Look at Luca De La Torre. They didn't present themselves. They're the midfielders. So Weah, Gio Reyna, and Pulisic, okay. Scally, the only bright spark in a horrible, horrible game. And on the downside, well, the ball guy behind me right here has to be at blame. Tactically inept. Honestly, no tactical fluidity, no repertoire to try to be more versatile or change the system. We don't shape up with a 4-2-3-1 like everyone wants to. We're not defensively solid enough to shape up that way or to have a three-man workhorse midfield. We're putting away, making players that don't have the characteristics that he wants them to perform to do them. So Greg Berhalter, the biggest stock down right here, should be fired. Honestly, should be fired tomorrow, in my opinion. Let's try to change something or root for Brazil to put 10 past us so he can get fired. I think perhaps the worst defeat that the USMNT has had in recent history, undoubtedly so. And for the players that did horribly, I'm just going to say Matt Turner, Johnny Cardozo, ridiculous match. Could be pinpointed. Johnny can be at fault at 3 of the goals if you look at the 3 first goals. Matt Turner, horrible goalkeeping. I mean, the guy got a yellow card like that. I don't know. It is what it is. Lots of players were horrible. Musa again, but that doesn't surprise me. I never really rated Musa that high. And yeah, it is what it is. Sorry guys if this video was a little bit extensive, but it's more a bit of a rant, a reaction to what happened. 5-1 loss. Thank you for all of you that stuck with us during the stream and that tuned in for this video, watched it this far away to try to resonate and try to find some peace, suffer alongside each other. So make sure you tune in, like, share, and subscribe. And share with your friends as well. Help us try to get a Ferrari by liking this video. So we'll see you next time. And yeah, let's hope for the best for the summer. A lot of questions to be asked.